Whether they've intended to or not, all the other speakers have shared something in common. Universally, they've presented you with a good idea. And I'm here to speak about something else entirely, the bad idea. Specifically, should we attempt to teach children to avoid bad ideas? There's certainly a school of thought that we should not. The Enlightenment philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau argued that children learn best spontaneously. If unfettered by traditional classrooms and teachers, they are free to explore and indulge their curiosity, that this would be true education. And to an extent, Rousseau's ideas have led to today's Montessori programs, and to a lesser extent, today's increasing emphasis on student-centered education and experiential learning. This trend disturbs me. It's actually not that there's anything inherently wrong with student-centered learning or experiential education, but by de-emphasizing the role of the teacher in the classroom, I feel they've taken away an important skill: our ability to try to prevent bad ideas from occurring in the first place. Allow me to give you an example of whether you truly believe in the full extent of experiential education. For many of you, I imagine that you're parents. Imagine you come out to your front yard, you look up at the roof of your 2-story house, and there's your 6-year-old, broom in hand, prepared to leap out into his first Quidditch match. And as your spouse comes running forward to stop him, how many of you would do the following? Stop. Let's see what he learns. You wouldn't. Now, depending on your relationship with your child, you might think about it for a moment. But you wouldn't. Well, maybe if it were a 1-story. It's not just the danger factor. It's the idea that no amount of experiential education can actually serve as a complete substitute for formal education. Allow me to offer one other example. Imagine that we want to promote home ownership in the United States. And to do this, we come up with an idea. Let's reduce down payment requirements, allow more people to own homes. Let's get rid of income requirements. You know what? Let's reduce credit checks. Let's make adjustable rate mortgages the norm. Then to promote investment, let's bundle all these together and allow banks to use these to meet their required reserves. Think about this idea. Now raise your hand if this is a terrible idea. Now, where were all of you 5 years ago? Now, the problem may actually be that some of you were talking about this 5 years ago, saying that this was a bad idea, but the average American was not. And if a lifetime for an adult of managing one's own personal finances, paying one's bills, one's rent, one's mortgage, one's credit card, does not prepare one to universally recognize what you have, that this is a bad idea, then by itself, experiential education cannot. If this is the case, then I would argue that it has to actually be done in traditional teacher-centered classrooms. Another Enlightenment philosopher, Isaac Newton, when asked how it was that he had made his discoveries, replied that if he saw further than others, it was because he stood on the shoulders of giants, those who had gone before. So, ladies and gentlemen, it depends upon those of us who are older, coaches, teachers, parents, to lift up the next generation on our shoulders and allow them to keep from stumbling over the same mistakes that we did. A number of our other speakers here tonight have said that students should try everything. You know, if properly motivated or inspired or incentivized or given the right technological tools, they should try everything. No. There are actually ideas out there that are so terrible they should never be tried. What we actually need to do is teach children to think better so that they can recognize these ideas and never try them. And I'm here tonight to basically talk about 2 specific ways that I'd like to see that happen. First, teacher-centered education, even the dreaded traditional classroom lecture, is critically important. It's how we learn things that we should never have to experience. There is a direct reason we do not add water to acid in chemistry. There is a reason that studying Neville Chamberlain's reaction to the Third Reich can teach us that appeasement can be dangerous. This is accumulated human knowledge built up through generations, and to disdain this human capital is to fail to stand on the shoulders of giants. In my classes, I post my lecture notes online. And this year for my economics class, as I went to revisit the notes that I first wrote in the spring of 2006, I discovered something. I discovered that in the spring of 2006 to my class, I argued that, well, the present housing bubble would shortly lead to the imminent collapse of the US banking system. And I argued this before a class in the spring of 06, 1 year before it happened, or began happening. I'd like to claim that I'm some sort of wise guru or financial genius, but I can't. What I can tell you is that one point, I was taught by those who were. Secondly, we actually need new classes. We need classes that are designed not simply to teach children what to think, teach them facts, but quite simply teach them how to think. To teach them inductive and deductive reasoning, how to employ inference. These classes are lacking. Here at the school for the last decade, I've taught a class in game theory. Its stated goal is to simply teach children to make better strategic decisions, regardless of their field of study. My hope is that a graduate of that class, when looked at with new mortgage rules, banking rules, would have thought ahead. How will speculators and average citizens react to these? How will the banking industry respond? Reason forward to, would these outcomes be ones that society actually would benefit from? And then I would hope, think back to the beginning and decide not to incorporate these rules at all. We need more classes like this one. I wish more policymakers and citizens were forced to take it. I know my class is not alone. There are others out there. The IB has their theory of knowledge class, but quite simply, we need more classes like this one. So through these two methods, one of maintaining basic teacher-centered education, and the second of adopting new curriculum to teach children simply to think better, we can help them avoid bad ideas. Now, in conclusion, allow me to state one thing. I think that even if both these ideas I've espoused here tonight are adopted, we will not actually eliminate bad ideas entirely. I can give you an example that I heard simply a few weeks ago in this very school. I wandered past a group of our junior boys, and I overheard the following. Man, she's so hot! Dude, I hear she stabbed her last boyfriend. Oh. Yeah, but she's so hot. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as long as the teenage male libido is still in place, we will never entirely avoid bad ideas. But I, for one, as I hope you would like to limit them. Thank you for your time.